State-of-the-art media and work center, a 42-inch flat panel high-definition television that easily integrates with laptops and other electronic devices. Complimentary breakfast is included during your stay. Location at 503 West Garden of the Gods Road. Book your stay at HyattPlace.com.
Banachek, the greatest mentalist alive. He's the #1 mind-reading act in the world. Joe Rogan calls Banachek the best I've ever seen. Banachek's Mind Games Live, taking mind reading to new heights at the Strat Hotel, Casino, and Skypod, Las Vegas.
The Dr. Annette Show, Saturday morning at 7 on KSHP, North Las Vegas, AM and FM, 829 6HP, North Las Vegas, and KSHP.com.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. So glad you could join us. Pushing the Limits, broadcasting everywhere, the AM, FM dial, and, of course, on our YouTube channel, at PTL Radio Show, TikTok, Twitch, Facebook. We're all over the place, and glad that you made us a part of your day. We appreciate that. Obviously, I come to the show today angry, frustrated, saddened, and sickened by the mass shooting that took place in Maine, waking up this morning to all this horrific news, and so many families that are grieving today, needless acts of violence, and it gets me really pissed off. Joining us at the bottom of the hour, attorney by the name of Eric J. Friday. He's in firearms law. He's a Second Amendment rights attorney. And we're going to have an epic debate, I know we are, at the bottom of the hour, talking about gun control issues. Here's what we know. We know that a bunch of innocent families and friends were bowling last night and also eating at a local restaurant when at least 18 people were killed and many others' lives changed forever because of one 40-year-old madman who decided to go in there into those two facilities with an assault weapon and kill as many innocent people as possible in a short period of time. This man, Robert Card, authorities say he should be armed and dangerous, considered very dangerous. There's a warrant out for his arrest. They still have not found him. Those areas are on lockdown. And police are urging residents to remain in shelter. We're going to get more into what he did, a little bit more background on him, and talk more about this tragic story that happens too much and too often, and it's sad, and it's hard to talk about, especially to somebody like me who was supposed to be at the October 1 shooting. My friend was shot in the lower back, and her life will never be the same. But thoughts and prayers to Republicans, right? Oh, yeah, I'll get into that. So what is it that the new House Speaker, the new GOP House Speaker, Mike Johnson, thinks about this tragedy last night? What did Mike Johnson have to say about all these innocent lives lost and about the gun violence in this country that is talked about way too much after a tragedy happens? What did Mike Johnson, the right-wing Christian radical, have to say about all this? Well, you won't be surprised as I tell you, and we'll hear from him. He didn't have anything of substance to say, but he does think that we should all pray. Have a listen to this.
This is a dark time in America. We have a lot of problems, and we're really, really hopeful and prayerful. Prayer is appropriate in a time like this, that the evil can end and this senseless violence can stop. And so that's the statement this morning on behalf of the entire House of Representatives. Everyone wants this to end, and I'll leave it there.
What a complete idiot this guy is. What a coward and what a right-wing religious zealot nut this guy is. He thinks prayer is going to stop this from happening. It's interesting. Every single time we have one of these mass shootings, you hear the same things from these right-wing buffoons, just like Mike Johnson. Thoughts and prayers. Let's talk about prayer, as if prayer would have stopped this guy from doing what he did. Let me be very clear. Prayer is not going to get AR-15s off the shelves. Prayer is not going to get illegal guns off the streets. Prayer is not going to get these right-wing idiots from making it easier for people, especially crazy people, from getting their hands on weapons of war. Mike Johnson, you are a disgrace. You are a right-wing nut, and you are despicable, is what you are. And while you were talking about prayer, Joe Biden was calling some of the family members who lost loved ones. That's far more valuable than you looking into a camera and speaking to members of the media and saying, well, it's really appropriate to prayer. We got to pray for this violence to stop. No, you idiot. Morons like you have blood on your hands because scumbags like you refuse to put laws on the books that would make it more difficult for mentally ill people and criminals to get their hands on weapons. Prayer is not the answer, you stupid buffoon. I am sick of it, and I am sick of these people on the alt-right, the far right, every single day talking about prayer. But when it comes to gun control, the only guns that they care about, or I should say the only gun that Republicans today care about, is Hunter Biden's unloaded gun that he had for 11 days that he didn't commit a crime with. That's the only gun that you'll hear Republicans talk about. They don't want to talk about these mass shootings. They don't want to talk about these school shootings. They'll talk about Chicago. They'll talk about D.C., and they'll say over and over again, people kill people. The guns don't kill people. If that was the case, then why don't we allow grenades? Why don't we allow our citizens to own grenades and tankers and machine guns? The reason why grenades are not available to the general public because they're very dangerous, right? And they shouldn't be used for self-defense. They're dangerous. Mass casualties. Same thing with an AR-15. These types of weapons were built for one reason and one reason only, to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. They weren't designed for self-defense. They were designed so that a crazy person, or at least they were designed and could be designed, perceived, to help someone kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. Like, for example, a 40-year-old madman who wants to kill as many innocent people as possible in a bowling alley in a restaurant in Maine, because that's sadly exactly what happened. But yeah, let's talk about this guy, Mike Johnson, whose only statement today was we should all pray. You stupid idiot. You stupid idiot. You disgusting excuse for a human being. You right-wing zealot, you. You should be ashamed of yourself. This is the far majority of the alt-right Republican Party today. They'll talk about prayer, but they don't want to talk about implementing actual laws that'll save people's life. But yeah, let's just sit down and pray. Did praying help all those innocent people, the innocent African Americans that died in that church that day? Or the innocent people throughout the country that at times have been in synagogues that have been executed? Prayer didn't seem to help them. If you want to pray on your own time, you go ahead and do that, you scumbag. But if you're an actual lawmaker, it's your job to put laws on the books to make Americans safer. That's all I hear from these people is thoughts and prayers. Haven't you had it? I've had it. Thoughts and prayers. That's what Lauren Boebert put on her Twitter page. I'm praying for all the people. Yeah, while you're praying, your next Christmas greeting card will be your kids holding AR-15s. You evil witch, you. What have Republicans done for decades to help the American people when it comes to gun control? What have they done? This madman who committed this atrocious act of killing at least 18 people and injuring so many others was actually a firearms instructor. Yeah, he served the country in the U.S. Army Reserves. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? He should have never been able to get his hands on a gun. Why, you ask? Well, he was committed to a mental health facility not that long ago for 2 weeks over the summer. And he had made threats of killing innocent people. He had told family members and friends that he was hearing things. Some of his family members have now spoken out in the last 24 hours, saying that he was having trouble hearing. He got a hearing aid, and he claimed when he used to go to this bowling alley where he shot a bunch of innocent people, he could overhear people talking about him. Now, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Clearly, this person was mentally ill, but he was allowed to continue to be the owner of firearms. We're going to learn a little bit more about where he bought these firearms, but to my knowledge, it wasn't illegal for him to buy a firearm. Could all of you explain this to me? Why is it more difficult for somebody in Maine today to buy Advil than it is for somebody to purchase an AR-15? Can somebody please explain that to me? Is this the country that you want to live in, where anybody could have easy access to assault weapons, but if you want to go into a drugstore and buy Sudafed, you're going to have to go through more of a process? Can somebody please explain that to me? And if you want to talk to me about gun control, I have a number of different things that I think Republicans could agree on, but they won't, that could save lives. There's not one law that we can put on the books that's going to end all the gun violence in this country. I'd never make a statement like that because guess what? It's not true. But there are a number of different things we can do. For starters, I believe we should put the age from 18 to 21. You cannot legally buy a gun until you're 21 years old. And if you're going to make the argument to me, what about our brave men and women in uniform? That goes to number 2. Because if you're a brave man or woman in uniform, 18 years old, 19 years old, guess what? You have to be trained how to use the weapons. We should have some mandatory training in this country. I'm not saying you should have to have 80 hours of training, but give me a few hours, the basics, how to hold a weapon, how to load a weapon, how to be safe while holding a weapon, how to store a weapon, just the basic mandatory training. I'm not saying that would have stopped this shooting from Maine from happening. Maybe, probably not. 40 years old. We need to have red flag laws in effect. First of all, this guy should have never been allowed to have owned a firearm, especially since he checked himself into a mental health facility over the summer. Should this guy have been allowed to have any guns on his person? Of course the answer is no. If you threaten your wife or husband, and there's a voicemail that you leave saying you want to kill somebody, blatant evidence, you'll probably get arrested, but in some states you can buy a gun the next day. That's got to stop. There has to be a hold on people like that until they are seen fit mentally. The red flag laws are very shady in this country in some states. They need to be stronger. And in my personal opinion, as I've talked about assault weapons a lot on this show, there was an assault weapons ban in the early 90s. It worked. Gun violence was down. If you don't believe me, you can go look that up yourself. Then it fizzled out because of Republicans. I know that might be a shocker to some of you. Republicans allowed this bill to fizzle out. There is no reason why anybody in this country needs an AR-15 to defend themselves. I don't want to take all your guns away. I think if you're a law-abiding citizen and you're not a felon, you should be allowed to purchase guns and you should be allowed to defend yourself. I have a serious problem with someone that turns 18 years old. The day they turn 18, they're allowed to walk into a gun store like the Uvalde shooter did the day he turned 18 and purchase assault weapons and thousands of rounds of ammunition. I have a problem with that. And listen, we are going to talk to an attorney coming up at the bottom of the hour who is going to disagree with me on a lot of this stuff, and that's fine. I want to have this debate with him. But the questions that I am going to ask him are this. You want to make it easier for people to have guns, like so many other lawmakers that are on the right in Washington. What are your solutions? You think more guns are going to make us safer? It's not a coincidence that per 100 people in this country, per capita, we have 140 guns. We are obsessed with guns in this country. It is a gun-obsessed culture in the United States of America. Don't talk about mental illness when there are mentally ill people all over the world. What makes us unique? Culture, the gun culture in this country. when we have lawmakers, politicians, idiots like Lauren Boebert. And I'm also going to throw Mike Johnson in that mix too. He's also an idiot, because when you talk about prayer and you have nothing of substance to say after another mass shooting, you're an idiot. Johnson is an embarrassment to this country, like so many on the evangelical right. What are your solutions? Have you heard any logical solutions from Republicans on this issue? Ever? After the Uvalde shooting, it was basically, according to Ted Cruz, lock the door, harden our schools. As if locking a door would have been a deterrent for this 18-year-old madman who had just shot his grandmother in the face. You think a locked door would have stopped him from going into that school and killing a bunch of innocent kids? Of course not. It's ridiculous, just like everything else in the Republican Party. They care more about an A-plus rating from the NRA than they do your life or my life or our children's lives. They'll talk about abortion and how it's, the worst thing in the world, killing our children every day. They'll call women murderers. But then when it comes to somebody with an AR-15 going in there executing a bunch of kids, they're mum on the issue. They'll just throw their hands in the air and say, there's really not much we can do. Bad people are going to do bad things. Or occasionally they'll say, why don't we arm our kindergarten teachers? There are no solutions on the right when it comes to almost anything in this country, especially this topic, which is gun control. The number to call if you want to be a part of the show. Now will be the only time this show that I'll be taking calls on this issue. Whether you agree or disagree with me, I would love to hear from you. And I want to know, what do you make of what took place in Maine yesterday? Where this nut job decided to go into a bowling alley, go into a restaurant and kill a bunch of innocent people. Families destroyed. It's so sad. What are your thoughts on this? And do you agree or disagree with me that these idiots, in my opinion, on the far right, absolute embarrassments to the country, these religious zealots, will only talk about thoughts and prayers? Mike Johnson, a perfect example of that, the GOP speaker. Now is an appropriate time to prayer. A man of no substance, a complete right-wing idiot. What do you make of that? Democrats have been trying to pass gun legislation and put laws on the books. Could be assault weapons, you name it, for years. The reason why they're not on the books is because of Republicans. Make no mistake about that. What are your thoughts on this, and what are your thoughts on the shooting yesterday? I'll open up the phone lines. That number, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program, 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE. Why is it that in all these mass shootings, AR-15s are used in so many of these mass shootings where so many people die? Uvalde, Las Vegas, of course, the October 1 shooting. In Buffalo, Boulder, Orlando, Parkland, Nashville, Sandy Hook, Odessa, Colorado Springs, and these synagogues where these shootings have been. Why is an AR-15 always used? If your argument is it's not the gun, it's the person, why do they keep choosing AR-15s? Well, I know the answer. I'll tell you why. Because it's a weapon that is very powerful, that, again, was built years back, not for self-defense. It was used to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. That's why. But you won't hear Republicans talk like that. You won't. And there's a reason for that, because they don't want to make it more difficult for people to own guns. They don't want to put laws on the books that'll save people's lives. Oh, no. They want that A-plus rating from the NRA. And they know that if they put in an assault weapons ban or they vote for something like that, that rating is going to go way down. The NRA is part of the reason why these things continue to happen. Let me be very clear on this. This shooter in Maine got an assist. And I hate to use that term like it's a basketball game, but I will in this instance. This 40-year-old madman who killed at least 18 people got an assist from 222 House members, from 49 senators, and the NRA. They all have blood on their hands because they make it easier for like this crazy person. They make it easier for him to get his hands on weapons and to execute, sadly, these horrific crimes on a regular basis. He gets an assist from those people. And for the people like Lauren Boebert and the Republicans in Congress that wear those AR-15 pins on their suits proudly, they're partially responsible for this because they endorse it. They want to make it easier for people to have assault weapons. They don't want to make it harder for people that are mentally ill. They might say they do, but they don't. Their voting record speaks otherwise. They are despicable. Mike Johnson is despicable. And I am sick and tired of Republicans in office today that will say thoughts and prayers, and the words are meaningless. They're empty. We don't care about your thoughts and prayers right now. We don't care. We want action. Don't scream to me thoughts and prayers when you enable this and you make it easier for people to have weapons of war. In this case, mentally ill people. You make it easier with your complicitness and your stupidity and you religious zealots out there that all want to talk about prayer. Mike Johnson is despicable. Lauren Boebert, those on the far right, with their empty words of thoughts and prayers, like they give a crap about you, like they care. Oh, they'll talk a big game when it comes to drag queen reading. They'll talk a big game when it talks about how much they care about our children being indoctrinated. But when it comes to gun control, silence. Complete silence. Thoughts and prayers. That's about all they will say. You call yourselves pro-life? You're anti-life is what you are. Your voting record proves that. If you were pro-life, you would do everything in your power to stop these mass shootings from happening. But you're not. You're making it easier for criminals to get their hands on guns. You're making it easier for them to execute these horrific crimes. That's what you're doing. How many times do I need to say it? Over and over and over again. These assault weapons should not be used or sold to the general public. They should only be used by our brave men and women in uniform and law enforcement. I say it every single day practically on this show. And I say it again now. Oh, but Brian, bad people are still going to get their hands on guns. Well, you know what? You're right. Bad people will probably find a way. But if we could get these assault weapons off the streets, I'd rather not have them have a weapon at all. But I'd rather them have a pistol than an AR-15. If the October 1 shooter had a pistol, we still would have lost some lives, but it wouldn't have been over 50 or 60 lives lost. I'll tell you that right now. It gets me so frustrated. It gets me so angry. These mass shootings over and over and over again. We talk about it on the air. We talk about it everywhere. Every single day it seems like there's a new mass shooting and there's something, a new tragedy in this country, and it's the same reaction from Republicans and Democrats. The Republicans, same reaction. Thoughts and prayers, our prayers go out to the victims, emptiness, and then Democrats get angry, rightfully so, and they say, let's do something now. Let's try to do something. We need your help. Let's desperately try to put these measures on the books. Let's do something to protect Americans. They are begging Republicans to help them. Begging them. And Republicans refuse. But they're pro-life, right? They're pro-life. Talk to most Republicans today. They're pro-life. Oh, really? You're pro-life? What are you doing to help poor people? What are you doing to help women raising a child alone? What government programs did you vote for to help people? What are you doing to protect people? What are you doing to protect our kids in our schools? What are you doing? The answer is nothing. Or in some cases, making it easier for people to buy guns. Folks, this isn't ending anytime soon. Republicans are not going to flip on this unless we vote them out of office. Stop voting for Republicans. They are a danger to our democracy, and they are a danger to your safety and well-being. Yesterday in Maine is a perfect example of what I am talking about. And now we have a guy, Mike Johnson, who's the new speaker, who is an election denier, and after another mass shooting where so many people are killed, one person is too many, over 18 people killed and so many injured, Mike Johnson's only statement, he's supposed to be a leader, and his only statement is, well, now's a nice time to pray. take your empty words, Mike, MAGA Mike, take your empty words of prayer and shove them up your ass. That's what I would say. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, attorney Eric Friday is going to be joining us. He's a trial attorney specializing in family and constitutional law, expertise in the areas of firearms and the Second Amendment rights. So we're going to have a good conversation when we come back. Really looking forward to it. Attorney Eric J. Friday will be joining us next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. And tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
The National Atomic Testing Museum is a national science, history, and educational institution that tells the story of America's nuclear weapons testing program at the Nevada Test Site. Located at 755 East Flamingo Road, just east of Paradise, the museum offers immersive, interactive experts for guests of all ages. The museum is Smithsonian certified and open 7 days a week. For more information, visit nationalatomictestingmuseum.org. That's nationalatomictestingmuseum.org.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Sadly, a very sad day for this country. Once again, another large mass shooting, this time in Maine, where over 18 people have lost their lives, dozens injured, families broken apart. A manhunt is still on the way for Robert Card. And joining me right now on the line, his name is Eric J. Friday. He is a trial attorney specializing in family and constitutional law. And he has some expertise in the areas of firearms laws and Second Amendment rights. Very happy to have Eric joining us right now on the show. Eric, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Doing good today.
Appreciate it, Eric. Thank you for the time. I guess my first basic question would be, what was your first reaction when you heard about this mass shooting that took place last night in Maine?
Same my reaction is almost every time is, why are more people not taking responsibility for protection of themselves and their families? I have a very low trust level for government, or low trust level for anybody else to take care of my family. I believe that those in the community are in the best position. My friends, the people that I associate with daily, I believe more guns means less crime, not more guns means more crime.
So let me ask you about that. If that is the case, that more guns equals less crime, why do we have virtually more violence, gun violence, than any other country in the world? Yet we have just about more guns than any other country in the world. You don't see that correlation as possibly being the opposite? You just think that's a coincidence?
Well, the problem comes in, you say more guns means more guns means more gun crime. You don't consider, and I have this argument with people all the time, they don't look at the violence numbers overall in other countries. I see guns as a method to stopping crime, period. God made men, Samuel Colt made them equal. There's a very high rate of knife violence or knife crime in other countries, especially in Great Britain, since they banned guns. So for that reason, I don't think it's a fair comparison to say, what is the crime rate versus what is the gun crime rate?
Do you think it's a fair comparison to compare knives to an AR-15?
I think violence is violence, and I abhor all violence, and I believe that all of us should have the ability to carry the means to stop violence against ourselves.
I agree. Listen, Eric, I agree with you. We agree fundamentally. We don't want this to happen. I would assume you sound like a good guy. We both agree that we don't want innocent people to die. All I'm saying is that you're making a comparison to knives to AR-15s, and in my opinion, with all due respect, is there's no comparison in my are there bad people that have committed heinous crimes with knives? Absolutely. But it's extremely rare when you're talking about 10 people, or last night, 18 people being killed at the hands of a madman with a knife, as opposed to a guy with an assault weapon who walks into a bowling alley in a restaurant to try to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. I don't know. I don't understand that analogy that you're trying to make to knives. I guess
I'll tell you why. I don't care whether my daughter is raped by a knife-wielding assailant or a gun-wielding assailant, and I don't care whether they're carrying a pistol or an AR-15. I want the rapist or the attempted rapist dead.
Of course, I agree with you on that.
Well,
but I don't think that's the point I'm trying to make. I guess I'll answer it this way, right? I mean, we fundamentally, of course, we agree on that, Eric. But I'll go to the October 1 shooter in Vegas, right? Mm-hmm. If the October 1 shooter had a knife, I guarantee you, lives would have been saved. I wish he didn't have any weapon, but if he had a knife, we wouldn't have had over 60 people that died. Same thing with these school shootings. I can't imagine or think to myself that all these kids would have died if that shooter didn't have an assault weapon and had a knife or even a pistol. People would still be hurt. People would still die. And I guess my question to you is, when I think about some of these assault weapons, as you know.
Well, I don't use that term. I'm not going to. Yeah, if you use the term assault weapon, we're talking about a fully automatic weapon. Those are already illegal. I mean, if we want to talk about a modern sporting rifle, a rifle that functions just like the hunting rifle I grew up hunting with, that's one thing. That's not an assault rifle.
Okay, well, let's talk about the weapons that were used, the AR-15s that were used in Uvalde, Las Vegas, Buffalo, Boulder, Orlando, Parkland, Nashville, Sandy Hook. Very similar types of weapons that were used in some of the biggest mass shootings in this country. I'm specifically talking about those weapons that were built for one reason and one reason only, not for self-defense, to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. Those are the weapons that I'm talking about. And I don't think that everyday citizens like you and me should be allowed to have those weapons, because I don't think we should use them for self-defense, because that's not what they're for.
Well, Brian, I mean, I say this as you know, you asked me on here, as I understand, as a lawyer.
Sure.
And as a lawyer, my answer to you is a Bill of Rights, not a Bill of Needs. It's not a bill of what I think you should have. You know, once upon a time in the state I grew up in, people didn't think that certain people should be able to vote based on their skin color. Mm-hmm. So what one group of people in our country thinks another group should have, needs to have, wants to have, is not really relevant to the conversation. We, the people enshrined in our, and this goes back to what the Supreme Court recently ruled, we, the people enshrined in our Constitution, a Bill of Rights. And that Bill of Rights says that there's a right to bear arms in defense of ourselves and in defense of our constitutional form of government. And we should have suitable weapons to do so. The founders, in their minds, individual citizens could own cannons and warships. So I don't think an AR-15 is such a stretch. They do ban us from owning fully automatic M16s, which even that I have a problem with that being banned. I don't believe that there should be limits on people having those type of arms that are suitable for military use, because we are all supposed to be part of the militia. That's the way our founding fathers intended this.
So, but I would say when the Bill of Rights was written, especially the Constitution, we had something called muskets. I think technology changes, weaponry changes, but by your standards of what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have no problem with people owning grenades, tankers. I mean, where does it end?
Well, I would say that the standard, the way the court has interpreted it to date, has been those weapons capable and in common use amongst most of the citizenry. AR-15s are undeniably the most common rifle in use by the citizenry, and yet they are only responsible, even with their use in mass shootings, AR-15s are responsible for less than 1% of all firearm violence in this country, if we want to talk about firearm violence. What I come back to, Brian, and as you said, nobody here wants to have innocent people killed. I abhor the violence that happened in Israel on October 7th. Mm-hmm. I believe fundamentally that the number one way to prevent things like Parkland or like Israel or like what happened yesterday is for the good citizens of our communities to take responsibility, to arm themselves, and to rid ourselves of those who would do harm to us. This guy that had a gun yesterday, mm-hmm. He is the epitome of what everybody tells us every background check should have protected us from this person of anybody, right? I mean, if we can't trust the guy that is in the United States Army, is an instructor for the United States Army, is a currently serving reservist, if we can't trust that guy not to some point have a problem, can we trust anybody? And that includes the people that are part of government. And if we can't trust anybody, then who can we trust? We can trust ourselves. We can trust our community. We can trust our friends and our family. And that is why I do believe that we all have to have that ability to defend ourselves.
I will say this, though. This man was in a mental health facility for 2 weeks over the summer. He shouldn't have been allowed to have a gun. This is somebody that had a criminal record. Yeah, well, I mean, the guy had a criminal record, and
I haven't seen that. What was his record? Please.
They haven't gone into detail. All they've said is he has a criminal record. I don't have that in front of me, but what I do know is he checked himself into a mental health facility for 2 weeks. The guy should have never had a gun to begin with.
So that's an interesting question. We've had that conundrum in Florida recently, and we actually helped write a bill to try and start addressing this issue a few years ago on behalf of Florida Carry, and in conjunction with actually the NRA, who I know is a very vilified organization by many. We wrote a bill to address people who were taken in on an involuntary examination but agreed to voluntarily commit themselves. Mm-hmm. And we wrote a bill in good faith with the idea and intent that this person who has been taken in involuntarily may be able to, at the time, they could convert themselves to voluntary and avoid being put on the list. We asked for two things. We asked for a knowing and intelligent written waiver of their rights prior to that happening to them. And number two, that they have a process for unwinding it after the fact, after they had a doctor say, yes, this person's better, because people do have acute mental illness as opposed to chronic mental illness. The sudden death of a family member, the sudden loss of a spouse, things like that, sudden loss of a child. And we tried to write a bill to address that. I can tell you what happened in the time since then is hospitals abused the process and judges abused it. We can't even trust the judges to exercise good judgment, because instead of, when the hospital would write this person refused to sign, instead of conducting a hearing on that, which is what the law said had to be required, we found judges just giving a blank check to these hospitals and to the state to take away somebody's gun rights without the due process hearing they're supposed to get. Mm-hmm. So we can't trust even the judges to do the right thing in those cases when the law is clearly written to address that.
So here's my thoughts on due process. I think red flag laws can be effective. I think they are effective in some areas, but here's my issue. Okay. If you threaten your wife or your husband or whoever, and you say, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to go buy a gun, I'm going to kill you. In most states, I think in all states for the most part, you'd probably be arrested. But in some states, you'd be able to purchase a gun the next day. And people like you, with all due respect, will say that person deserves due process. Now, I'm not saying a neighbor, if you don't like somebody, you should just be able to call the police. This guy threatened my life with no evidence and take that person's guns away. That's not what I'm advocating. I think it's a case-by-case basis. But if you have somebody literally threatening somebody's life on a voicemail, the next day that person Eric, should not be allowed to purchase a gun until they are deemed fit to do so. And there are too many lax laws in this country that would allow that person. And I hear the word due process. Well, I'll tell you something. Those 18 people that died yesterday in Maine, they don't have due process. All these children and all these victims of gun violence across the country, they don't have their due process. I guess what I would say is I would rather have somebody be inconvenienced for a week or 2 days or whatever and not be able to have a gun than somebody winding up dead.
Well, Brian, I will tell you, number one, that's not the way the red flag laws have been misused here in Florida. And the reason I say that is, and I tried to work on the Parkland bill, for example. As a fundamental principle, I believe that we should always have a right to counsel before we lose any constitutional right, whether that's the right to own a gun or whether that's, somebody coming in and telling you, Brian, we're taking you off the radio for a couple of days or off the internet for a couple of days because we didn't have that type of technology in 1791, or just because we want to, and you can have due process later because we don't like what you're saying about somebody.
Right, but I'm not talking about technology. I hear what you're saying, but I'm specifically talking. I'm just giving you a specific example. Sure. We can talk, and I get it. I get what you do for a living. You're very good at what you do. I get that. But due process aside, if somebody threatens somebody's life, I'm not worried about their due process. I'm worried about the possible victims, and I want to protect them.
And we had an individual who was recently president, and he got excoriated by the gun lobby for talking about red flag laws himself and saying due process or take the guns now, due process later. Okay, let's assume that that's a fair statement. Okay, Brian. Let me grant you for the moment for our discussion here that fine, the government says this person's a danger to themselves or others. Okay, we're going to take their guns now. We're going to give them due process later. But we had a process for that. We had a mental health law in Florida that said, okay, we're going to come in and we're going to take you out of your home. We're going to put you we're not going to take your guns. We're going to put you in a facility for 72 hours up to, and then we're going to give you a hearing to determine whether or not you can go back home. Mm-hmm. And we're going to give you a lawyer as part of that hearing to determine if you can go back home. And if we decide that you need mental health services and can't go back home safely, we're going to provide those to you. We may bill you for them later, but you're going to get mental health services. So what did the red flag law that we did after Parkland, what does it do? It says we're not going to take you out of your home and put you in a facility, even though we the state are now alleging the same standard that you are a danger to yourself or others and that we can prove it by clear and convincing evidence. We're not going to take you out of your home and put you somewhere safe. We're just going to come in and take the guns. We're not going to worry about the knives. We're not going to worry about chemicals or anything else you could do damage with. We're just going to take the guns. And when you go to court, we're not going to let you have a lawyer unless you can afford one. So right now we're already going against the weakest and most destitute of our citizens at that point. And oh, by the way, we're going to compel you to go get a mental health evaluation that you may not be able to afford. And if you can't afford it, we're going to continue to deny your gun rights indefinitely until you can afford it. And number three, we believe you're a danger to yourself or others, but we're not going to provide any state funding or any new funding for you to be able to go get mental health treatment.
Obviously, I disagree with that, and it sounds like that's a mess. But here's where I think we disagree.
Brian, here's why I say that, and I want to make this point. Mm-hmm. The Democrats that we were trying to talk to in the state of Florida, and there's a Republican majority there, the Republican majority would not listen to us. And the Democratic majority was more interested in passing some type of gun control bill in Florida where they had never succeeded before than they were in actually protecting the people they claim to care about for mental health purposes. And I do a lot of work outside my gun realm. I do a lot of mental health work because I do a lot of family law work. Mm-hmm. And so, I am an honest broker here, and I was invited on this show and I've enjoyed our conversation. Sure. But I think that's something that your show and others need to learn is that neither party is looking out for good Americans here. They're not looking out for the least of us.
Here's where I disagree with you on that. With all due respect, here I'm not saying every Democrat is perfect. By the way, they're not.
No, I know.
But here's where we fundamentally disagree on a couple things. First of all, I disagree with that premise because I believe Democrats for decades now have been trying to do a hell of a lot more than Republicans have been trying to do. In fact, Republicans are making it easier for people to get access to guns, where I believe Joe Biden and you can disagree with what
No, I don't disagree on that.
Yeah, but you can disagree on Joe Biden's policies and an assault weapons ban that he wants to pass. We can disagree on that. But as a whole, Republicans care more about their A+ rating from the NRA. Democrats could give two craps what their rating is from the NRA. And I think that speaks volumes of where the two parties are at right now. But here's where we really disagree fundamentally, Eric, which which is this. You think that more guns make this country safer. And I'm asking you, because I'm a man that speaks to evidence. In what culture, in what society, where is the evidence to prove that if we have more guns in a society, we're going to be safer? Because I look at all these other countries that have less guns and there's less violence. Where is your evidence to prove that? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, so if the question is, do I have evidence to prove that more guns equals less crime? I would tell you that the research of Dr. Gary Kleck of FSU, the research of Dr. John Lott at Chicago, and I forget where Dr. Lott is now, indicate that more guns do in fact decrease criminal activity, and the biggest fear of the criminal is to encounter an armed citizen, not police. Now, as far as the question of gun regulations, the Supreme Court has recently, with the Bruin decision, taken the question of interest balancing and whether it's a good idea or not off the table. Their answer in Bruin, and actually going all the way back to Heller, was that the people answered the question in the Second Amendment. It's a pre-existing right to bear arms that we have in this country, and those arms include arms in common use. Those arms in common use include the AR-15, and so we have a fundamental difference in what we might wish the law to be, but at this point, the law has been established to be something, and so there's the biggest problem that you're going to have to overcome. This issue was actually litigated in large extent in New Jersey yesterday in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. If you go to the Third Circuit website, people can actually listen to the oral argument. And I've only gotten about halfway through it, but it was fascinating stuff, because the state of New Jersey is arguing, and this was fascinating to me. There was a question about, well, what about carrying guns in bars? Should the state be able to ban carrying a gun in a bar? And the court asked the state of New Jersey, said, well, New Jersey, you say there's a long history of banning guns in bars. Tell us, when did New Jersey first enact a law banning guns in bars? December of 2022. Oh, so you mean if somebody had a concealed carry license from the state of New Jersey before December of 2022, they could carry in a bar? Well, yes, Your Honor, they could. But now that you've been told you have to give concealed carry permits out, and you're going to do all of these new background checks on them that you weren't doing on the political favorite that you were giving them to before, now all of a sudden you want to do all these limits on people carrying guns in all these places, even though you're doing more background checks than you were before December of 2020.
Well, I feel as far as
that's the hypocrisy that shows in these politicians that want to restrict firearms, not necessarily people who in good faith believe more guns equal more crime, but from the stance of the politicians that are pushing this gun control agenda, I don't believe that they can speak in good faith, and I think they are the worst kinds of hypocrites, and I think they have been demonstrated in New Jersey since December.
I would say my definition of a hypocrite is somebody that calls themselves pro-life. I'm not speaking about you. I don't know what your stance is on that, but Republicans in office today that call themselves pro-life, and they're so concerned about the unborn child, but then when that child is born, they don't want to put anything on the books to make us safer. Now, if your opinion is more guns are the answer, obviously we fundamentally disagree on that. I don't think more guns in society makes us safer. And I think we have 140 guns per 100 people in this country, and it ain't getting safer in this country. It's just getting worse. We have more gun violence in this country than we've ever had. And I think it's because we're infatuated with our guns. I think there are people that are obsessed with our guns. But I want to get to another point here, because I want to get your thoughts on something. I'll give you my examples of what I think would make this country safer when it comes to gun control. But before I do that, I want to hear from you. I understand you're an attorney that wants, protects the Second Amendment rights, and you know a lot about firearms. I totally understand and respect that. But what I want to know from somebody like you is, what are your solutions? We both agree fundamentally. We don't want innocent people to die, of course. Mm-hmm. And we think the gun violence, I would assume you would agree, way too much gun violence in this country. So my question to you is, besides saying that we need more guns, what are some of your solutions that you think would really help and make this country safer and lower the gun violence?
Sure. Well, I think first of all, you have to identify the problems before you can talk about solutions. And I would say we have three types. And I don't like the term gun violence, but it's not a completely misleading or inaccurate description. So we'll use that term. If we talk about gun violence, we have three types. 2/3 of all gun violence is suicides. Okay. There is no evidence to support that suicides go down with access to guns. It's just a different method of suicide that happens. Okay. If some psychologist wants to tell me I'm dead ass wrong on this, I'll listen. I don't think I am. I don't think that's what the research says. So 2/3 of all gun deaths are suicide. Their only way that I know of to address that is better early intervention, better mental health treatment. Frankly, if I had my way, and based on what I've learned from raising children now, I wouldn't let kids have cell phones or smartphones, at least before they were, 16 years old, at least. If they're old enough to drive a car, maybe they're old enough to have a
Should a child be allowed to, or should an 18-year-old be allowed to go into a gun store and buy an AR-15 and thousands of rounds of ammunition with no mandatory training?
Absolutely. It's a
So an 18-year-old, it's okay for you, Eric, to have an 18-year-old walk into a gun store and buy a bunch of AR-15s, but you're telling me 2 years earlier, at the age of 16, your problem is kids with cell phones, but not 18-year-olds with guns. Can you understand how somebody like me finds that a little bit ridiculous?
Brian, I can, but I will tell you that is based on extensive conversations with psychologists representing children through Baker Act, through the mental health process, and the number of children that we have going into the mental health system today. I firmly believe that we have created a problem, a mental health problem with cell phones. And I was speaking personally as like what I wish I had done differently, what I communicate to parents that I talk to. I truly believe in the dangers of social media and cell phones with children's mental health. So yeah, I would from a parental perspective, not from a government perspective. Again, I am a extremely limited government. I'm probably the most socially liberal gun guy you've ever met.
So you don't want government involvement in our lives. Is that a fair characteristic of who you are?
That's a really strong. That's saying very weakly how I feel about government.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then. And we're off topic here, but since we're talking about the government, what's your take on abortion? Should the government tell a woman what to do with her body? Since you're anti-government,
I am very, very pro-life and pro-choice.
So you don't want the government involved when it comes to guns, but when it comes to a woman's body, you're totally okay with the government taking control of that.
You didn't hear me. I have a very personal opinion of pro-life. I have a very governmental opinion of pro-choice.
Okay.
I don't want the government does not belong in my wife's appointment with her doctor.
Okay. Gotcha. So correct me if I'm wrong. While you call yourself pro-life, you also don't want the government to tell women what to do when it comes to abortion. Am I getting you right on that?
You're getting me very right.
And I respect that. And I 150% respect it. And we agree on that. You're allowed to have those beliefs. And if you want to have 100 kids with your beautiful wife, go for it. Right. I mean, don't tell other people what to do with their bodies. We agree on that.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's a very, very fair stance.
So getting back to your question about how do we fix the problem? I do believe we have a mental health crisis in this country, and I believe that too. And I know that statistically we can. It's hard to mess. There's a lot of statistics easy to play games with. You can't play games with 2/3 of all gun deaths are suicide. Period. Amen. That number's been consistent for years. The next category that is the vast majority of gun violence in this country is what I would call socioeconomic violence. Some people might call it gang violence. Some people might call it drug violence. It is socioeconomic. It has to do primarily with people who see no other option than illegal conduct, which we can debate. You and I probably agree on whether or not that conduct should be illegal. But when illegal conduct is forced into the black market and the court system is not available to settle disputes, those disputes get settled with guns. That is a separate category of violence that has its own solutions, such as dealing with socioeconomic factors. Frankly, it does include the solution of ending some of those people when that violence scares over or spreads over into innocent lives. I have no problem with, if you're caught in the crossfire, shooting back and eliminating that problem permanently. I wish that we could do more for them socioeconomically. I wish we could do more to not put them in I do believe there's a school to prison pipeline for many categories of youth. And I would love to see us in that with criminal justice reform, but getting rid of guns is not going to solve it. Now, maybe making sure that under 18-year-olds don't come into possession of those guns, maybe banning them from having guns because of a prior conviction might do something. I personally would support most felons having the right to own guns when they come out of prison, because I have the belief that if you can't trust somebody with a gun, you can't trust them walking out on the street as a free person.
Wait. Okay, so hold on, because I think some people might characterize that as an extreme view, because I think there's a lot of Republicans that would disagree with you on that.
Yes,
So you're telling me, regardless of the crime, somebody could have killed somebody with a gun, killed multiple people, gets 30 years in prison. And you're telling me the day that person gets out of jail, you would have no problem with them buying a bunch of AR-15s? I think a lot of people would disagree with you on that.
A lot of people would disagree, and I understand the position is extreme, but I don't want to be listened. I don't want it to be read that broadly. I didn't say no matter what crime.
Okay.
But as a general,
but a felon. You used the term
yes,
felon.
I did say felon. And I'll give you an example. There are people who are felons because they bounced a check in their early 20s. And they served, maybe they might have even had, maybe they did, maybe they didn't serve jail time, but they have lost
So
their
you're
life.
talking about non-violent crime felons. Is that what you would want to characterize it as? Is that a better way of explaining it?
I think we need to have a discussion. If we cannot trust a person with guns, can we trust them to walk around in free society?
Right.
And
So
I think, and look, here's the point. Florida has recently very much liberalized our returning rights to felons to vote. If I can trust you to authorize the government to commit violence against people, can I not trust you as to whether or not you're capable of knowing when
you have to register to vote, right?
You have to register to vote. And I got to tell you, the discussion has come up, and I've been asked the question before. Well, what kind of restrictions would you put on the right to bear arms? You want me to have a concealed carry license to be able to carry a gun concealed in the state of Florida? Make it as easy to get as a license as a voter registration card. We can talk about me carrying a license. Otherwise, I'll take my permitless carry we just passed.
So let me give you just a few things that and then
you asked for your third category of violence, your mass shootings.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. There's a fourth. There's domestic violence, but that is actually that's a minor compared to the top three, I think.
No question.
Death.
Yeah.
Death of mass shootings. The only way you stop those is you get rid of gun-free zones. Almost all mass shootings occur in what are governmentally sanctioned or local ordinance of some type or signage sanctioned gun-free zones. You get rid of gun-free zones, you get rid of what I call victim disarmament zones, you're going to see a substantial reduction in the numbers of mass killings. You encourage people to carry, you will see this problem go away.
Well, all I can tell you is this, and again, it goes back to your beliefs and my beliefs, and we just have a different ideology, I guess, when it comes to guns, and that I just respectfully disagree with you. I don't think more guns are the answer, and we have more guns than just about any other country in the world, yet we have all this gun violence. If more guns made us safer, then quite frankly, sir, we wouldn't have all this gun violence. But let me give you some kind of tidbits of what I think would work to lower I heard yours, some of which I do agree with. I think we need to start with mandatory training. I know driving a car is a privilege. I get that. But to get a driver's license, you're with an instructor. They make sure you have eyesight. You can see. They check that. They make sure you don't suffer from seizures or anything like that. And you have to learn how to drive a car with an instructor next to you, which could be nerve-wracking for some people. And then you take a test. In many cases in this country, you don't have to do any of that stuff to purchase a gun. That's number one. Number two, I think the age should be 18 to 21. You said it yourself. You don't even trust 16-year-olds with cell phones. Why should we trust 2 years later 18-year-olds when their brains aren't even fully developed yet with AR-15s? So that's the second thing I would do. We talked about red flag laws. I think case-by-case basis, they need to change. Again, the shooter in not Uvalde, but the Parkland shooter. Cops were called out to his place 70 times. Kids should have never been allowed to have a gun. That's number three. And yes, we disagree on this one too. An assault weapons ban, which was implemented in the early 90s. And Republicans allowed that to fizzle out. And if you go back to the actual stats, I know you're a stats guy, gun violence was down. And then the Republicans allowed it to fizzle out. And look at where we are today in 2023. Now, I'm not asking you to give me all those four things.
Oh, no, I'd love to ask you some questions about them, because I got to tell you, the idea of mandatory training. You know what? You tell me that, and I have to be careful here. I do represent an organization, and my personal beliefs aren't necessarily what. I'm willing to have a conversation about mandatory training when the government will provide the training and provide the ammunition. I mean, if the idea is it is in the best interest of the country for people to be armed and to have a qualified militia.
Eric, let me add to that training, just so you understand my position. First of all, I agree with you. I think if the government provided that, I think that would be great. I'm not asking for 80 hours of training. I'm not asking for 20 hours of training. I want a 2-hour class to give you the basics: how to hold a weapon, how to shoot a weapon, how to store a weapon and be responsible with it. Let's just start there. Give me just 2 hours of training. I don't care what kind of gun you want to buy. Every single person in this country that buys a firearm needs mandatory class of 2 hours. Now, that would be somewhat expensive. The government would have to pay for it. They blow a lot of money on a lot of other things. I believe this would save lives. You know why, Eric? I know we're going to agree on this. Because if I'm in a supermarket and I don't have a gun on me and there's an active shooter there, and I know there's a good Samaritan in that supermarket with a gun, I'd like to know that they know how to use it, that they have some training. And that's why I think this is so important.
I got news for the uninitiated. I mean, I can break down the numbers for you in Florida best I can figure out. Something like 1 in 7 Floridians have the right to carry. They have, and this is before we made permitless carry. I'm talking about just when we had licenses. And that license generally was a 4-hour class. That was what most people spent on it. I will tell you that the vast majority of them don't carry on a daily basis. I've been carrying a gun every day pretty much since I was 19 years old, because that was the age I could get a concealed carry license in Alabama at the time. And the fact is, most people that carry regularly do train a lot more than anything you're talking about. Those people that do carry on a daily basis, they train, and they train a lot. Unfortunately, I'd tell you, I'm on the low scale of that, just from a standpoint of the job I do is too damn busy.
But you would give me that. You would give me that with the government assistance. Maybe people could come together, people like you and me, and say, hey, so a little bit of mandatory training, maybe that would help. Any of the
it's worth talking about. It's worth having a conversation. We would.
Okay, good. I'm happy to hear that. The other 3 that I mentioned,
I don't think it's mandatory. I really don't. And I'm afraid I don't think you can make it mandatory constitutionally. I mean, from a perspective of, does it sound like a good idea? Yeah. Would I want to do things to encourage people to do the class? Absolutely. Can you make it mandatory as a condition of being able to carry, given the Bruin decision and the Heller McDonald decision? Probably legally can't do it. What you can do is you can do it. Mississippi did something like this years ago. They created what they called an enhanced concealed carry permit. It actually required, I think, almost 8 hours of 4 or 8 hours of training, but they can then carry in a K through 12 school when they're dropping their children off. You know, if they go to have lunch with their kid at a K through 12, if they go to the courthouse to serve on jury duty, they get to carry. The only place they cannot carry is a freaking jail. And that's
I understand that, and it would be difficult to make it mandatory. But I'm just telling you what I think would help the society. And listen, I know we probably agree. We only have a couple more minutes left here. I know we probably disagree on the 18 to 21, but so basically, I want to understand you correctly. The day someone turns 18 with zero training on how to use a firearm, you're okay with an 18-year-old walking into a gun store and buying a bunch of AR-15s and thousands of rounds of ammunition. I think that's where we fundamentally disagree as well, but you'd be okay with that.
I have to be. It's a constitutional premise, Brian, and that's what it comes down to for me. Is I've devoted my life to defending a document, and I truly believe, beyond what I think is the best interest of our country, I truly believe that is what that document says, is that adults have rights in this country, not privileges, not if we really like it or agree with it. Adults have rights, and that one of those rights is when they turn 18, they have a right to purchase. And I will tell you, the courts have been striking down Tennessee, Texas, where they had restrictions on who could carry at 18. Those laws have recently been struck down by the courts, and they're not being appealed because they don't believe that they can win at the U.S. Supreme Court.
Do you think it's fair that an 18-year-old, maybe you don't have the right to purchase cigarettes, but you can purchase an assault-style weapon that could kill people?
I think it's abhorrent. I think it's abhorrent that we tell people that you can't smoke a joint at 18 and be able to legally own a firearm at 18, when we have politicians in Florida going on radio programs admitting that they're committing that very offense, and the government doesn't prosecute them, but then wants to prosecute an 18-year-old for the same crime.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we have obviously, Eric, we have some fundamental disagreements, right? I mean, it's one side that says more guns are safer. I'm obviously on the side of less guns, but I think fundamentally we also both want the same thing. We obviously don't want innocent people to be hurt or die. And I in my personal, and I think you'll agree with me on this, we need more conversations like this. And I think we need to come somewhere in the middle. And some people might not like that, but obviously, Eric, what we're doing now is not working. Right now, what we're doing as a society is not working, and we have to make changes. Now, you might disagree, or I might disagree with some of those changes. We need to make changes, and there are not enough lawmakers in Washington that are willing to raise their hand and say, I'm willing to do that. I think most Democrats are, and I think Republicans need to say, you know what? I don't agree with the Democrats on everything. Let's sit down and talk. Republicans, many of them don't even want to talk about this stuff. They say thoughts and prayers, which I think is so disrespectful, to what is going on in society as a whole, because we hear it after every mass shooting. But, I guess we got to end it there, but I can tell you this, sir, I'd love to have this conversation with you again.
I'd love to come back.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it with you. And I think as Americans, we need to have more of these conversations. And I do respect your opinion, Eric, and I appreciate you coming on the show, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate that. All right. Good conversation. We don't agree on everything, which I assume that would probably happen. But there's a lot to pick apart in that interview, right? There's so many things I thought it was a good, respectful conversation. And that's what I do with people that are respectful to me, by the way. When people disrespect me, then I'm not respectful. But there's a ways to have respectful conversations, and I thought that was a good one. Obviously, I disagree with what Eric J. Friday said. He has a problem with 16-year-olds with cell phones. He's willing to speak out on that and how bad it is for, mental illness. 16-year-old with a cell phone, horrible. 18-year-old with a bunch of AR-15s, that's okay. Obviously, I fundamentally disagree with him on that, and we fundamentally disagree on the fact that he says more guns make us safer, when in fact in this country we have about 140 guns per 100 people. So if more guns made us safer, we'd be one of the safest countries in the world when it came to gun violence, and that's not the case. So the proof is in the pudding. I think more guns make us less safe, and we fundamentally disagree, obviously, on that issue. But I think at least we came to some common ground on some things. I think he agrees with me that we need some training, and we'll take it from there, ladies and gentlemen. And I appreciate Eric taking the time to join us. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, a nationally syndicated radio host says that a high school boys basketball team would defeat the Las Vegas Aces. Oh, boy. The big fella, Paul McKeskey, 11-year NBA veteran, going to be joining us next to talk about that and much more. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Pushing the limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
When you bring your vehicle to Star Auto Care for maintenance, you'll have a team of professionals at your service. Every one of our technicians has been factory trained and master status certified to ensure that you receive the highest quality and most effective service. Star Auto Care is located at 3540 East Tropicana Avenue, just east of Pecos. Star Auto Care is confident in their prices and will match any mechanic located within 20 miles. Bring your vehicle in today and let Star Auto Care give you the peace of mind you deserve when you service your car. Visit them online at starautocare.us.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call. 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. And tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Whether you're a corporate executive, on a family vacation, or just passing through, St. George Inn & Suites will meet your specific needs. It's conveniently located near restaurants, shopping, and movie theaters. St. George Inn & Suites offers a variety of room types, 2 fabulous pools and jacuzzis, a fitness center, a free full hot buffet breakfast, and laundry facilities. To make your booking, call 435-673-6661 or book online at stgeorgeinnhotel.com. You need to stop in Southern Utah? Make that stop at St. George Inn & Suites.
STN Sports is the only sports betting app you need this season. STN Sports has it all. In-play betting, mobile parlay cards, the Play Plus card to fund and withdraw from anywhere in Nevada, and the latest lines on every game. STN Sports even lets you earn rewards on every bet. Safe and easy betting from your phone or tablet. Go to stationcasinosports.com or sign up at any Station Casino, Fiesta Wildfire, or the El Cortez. Details at the sportsbooks.
The Farmer's Burger from Farmer Boys. Beef, bacon, cheese, hand-smashed avocado, and fresh veggies. Best burger champ. That's how we drop the mic. Farmer Boys. Farm food ain't fast food. Farmer Boys' new always crispy fries stay crispier and tastier all the way home. If they make it home. Sharing is caring. Farmer Boys. Farm food ain't fast food.
Jumpers Jungle Family Fun Center is an indoor children's jump and party space in Las Vegas located at 2050 South Rainbow Boulevard. Kids of all ages can come and jump on our bouncers, race through the obstacle courses, speed down the mega slides, slam dunk into the basketball hoops, and much more. Are you looking for that perfect birthday party venue? Look no further. Jumpers Jungle has a party package that will fit your needs. Check out the open play schedule online at jumpersjungle.com or call 702-463-JUMP. It's time to jump your way to fun at Jumpers Jungle on the corner of Oakey and Rainbow.
Hi, Doug Basham here. Join me Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon right here on KSHP AM 1400, 107.1 FM, and on major social media sites. As always, I'll tell you what your conservative, corporate-controlled, right-wing propaganda hate media isn't. You're welcome. That's Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 noon right here on KSHP. Be there.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
The best choice for convenience, comfort, and value, My Place hotels are ideal for both short-term and long-term travelers. The rooms at My Place features pillow-top mattresses, microfiber bedding, and a variety of soft and firm pillows. All extended stay rooms offer their own kitchen, which includes a full-size refrigerator and a cooktop. On-site laundry facilities are also available for extended stays at pet-friendly My Place hotels. Book your stays online at myplacehotels.com. My Place Hotels, St. George and West Jordan, Utah. Make My Place your place.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. You want to talk about the opposite ends of the spectrum between, the debate I had yesterday with Rhonda Kennedy and the debate I just had with Eric. One was screaming and yelling. The other one was very professional and very respectful. So it is possible to disagree with somebody and have a good, respectful conversation. Welcome back. Glad you guys are joining us. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home, you got to call my man, Blake Gwynn, over there at the Keller Williams Group. His grandfather, of course, the late, great Governor Kenny Gwynn. The reason why I bring that up, though, is because Blake's lived here his entire life. He knows this town inside and out. And you're also going to get $1,000 cash back if you mention the name of the show, which is PTL. Please give him a call, 702-540-3311. Again, that number, 702-540-3311, and tell Blake that I sent you. Speaking of sending, I got the 7-footer in studio. I made him come all the way out here from Henderson to do the show, the second hour of the show with me today. Big Mo joining us in the house. There's a name that I can't call him on or off the air because he said he would beat me down. Isn't that right, Mo?
Beat you up, not down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Mo, it's good to see you as always. Boy, we have a lot of basketball to talk about. It's been fun the last couple days, watching the first couple days of the NBA season, and we're certainly going to talk about that, Mo. I want to start with a little controversy with you, if I may. So there's a syndicated right-wing hack radio host by the name of Clay Travis. And Clay Travis was the guy who basically filled in for Rush Limbaugh after he passed away. And I'm not a fan of Clay Travis. I think he's a despicable human being. He spreads right-wing propaganda like so many others of these right-wing radio hosts do. But with that being said, sometimes I think he's right, particularly when it comes to sports. So he decided to go on a little bit of a rant when it comes to the WNBA, right after the Aces won the WNBA championship. Right? He put this video out there, and he started making the comparison between men's basketball and women's basketball. And he talked about high school basketball players, what would happen if they played like the Aces or a WNBA team. I want you to listen to a little bit of this, and then I want to get your thoughts on it.
I've said this for a long time. It is 100% true. A good state championship caliber high school boys team would smoke the best team in the WNBA. Let me repeat that because it's true and it's important. A good state championship level boys high school team would absolutely smoke the WNBA champions. Give me a team from California, New York, Texas, or Florida. I would bet my entire savings in the bank that the boys high school team would beat the WNBA team. Give me 25 or more state champions. Oh, because some states are small, right? Like, I don't know how many people play high school basketball in Wyoming. I don't know how many people play in Rhode Island, right? Like, some states don't have that big a population.
You get the point. I mean, we don't need to hear anything else from douchebag Clay Travis, but sometimes douchebags are right. So anyway, Chelsea Gray and other players in the WNBA have retweeted this, and Chelsea Gray particularly called him a, quote, dumbass. Now, I do think Clay Travis is a bad guy. I don't think he's dumb. I just think he's a jerk. He's like a Tucker Carlson, right? He's a bigot. I think Clay Travis is a bigot, and he's a douchebag. But just because you're a bigot and a douchebag doesn't mean you're a dumbass. I understand Chelsea Gray wants to go after him because she obviously disagrees with him on this. But
that's exactly what he wanted to.
What is your thoughts?
Well, first of all, anybody in an argument that there's no way to prove it, right? Because there's no WNBA team. Aces aren't going to play the champions of California. So if that is true, then you cannot say it's 100% true that what I'm saying is true. That's bullshit. That's not true because you can't prove it. As far as basketball-wise, pure basketball, I don't believe that any state champion high school boys basketball team could beat the Aces. I don't believe that. I believe maybe California, maybe New York, maybe some of those states.
Okay, but hold on. Let me ask you this. Men's basketball, high school men's basketball rules, you're telling me that you don't believe Bishop Gorman boys would beat the Aces? Because I disagree with
Absolutely not. No way.
Oh, I disagree
Not
with you
even close.
100%.
Not even
you
close.
Think
you think there's a high school guy at Gorman
Yeah.
that can play and has the skill level and the talent of Asia Wilson?
Yes.
No, that's not even no way.
I think physically. We're talking. Forget about skill level for a
Okay.
second.
Okay.
I'm talking physically. I don't think Asia Wilson
Well,
would
you-
be able
well-
to get the shots she gets off in the WNBA. I
Well-
don't think physically Asia Wilson would be able to compete with a guy that is going to be a college basketball player, an 18-year-old senior that's bigger and stronger. No, I don't, Mo. I disagree with you.
Well, first of all, if you look at the Gorman Bishop Gorman roster, the biggest guy is 6'8", 180 pounds.
And how big is Asia Wilson?
6'4",
Okay,
180.
so 4 inches, I think.
And I would take her any day over this kid, whoever this kid is. No
With
question.
men's rules?
No question. Yeah, I mean,
You
they're
think-
more skilled. Yeah, it's not even
They're,
close.
but isn't an 18-year-old Bishop Gorman player faster and more athletic and stronger than a WNBA player?
Not as talented, not as smart, not as high basketball IQ. So all those are just as good, just as important to me as your size, your strength, and your quickness.
But couldn't you could have an Albert Einstein basketball IQ? It doesn't mean you're going to be able to physically compete.
Well, basketball, there's fouls in basketball, and Asia Wilson can draw fouls on this kid and be shooting free throws. I mean, I don't believe that now. And here's the other thing I have a problem with: they will get smoked. That's bullshit too. There's no way. First of all, I'll categorize smoked. 50 points, 20, 30.
So I didn't say that.
Yeah, but he
Clay
did.
Travis
He
said that.
did, yeah.
I'm not saying they would get smoked. What I'm saying first of all, you know this. They use a smaller basketball, much easier to make shots when you're shooting with a smaller basketball, and the cylinder is the same size. That is a huge advantage for the women. Number one. Number two. The range, the shooting range from a WNBA 3, it's completely different. The rules, the physicality.
Wait. High school three-point line is
You're
way
right.
closer than the
You're right.
WNBA.
The 3-point.
It's
You're
not
right.
even close.
I was thinking college. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
You're right. If we're using high school rules, you're 100% correct. I was wrong with that statement. But the basketball is a huge issue. That's a big difference.
Yeah, I
I've
can
shot
see
with a
that.
women's basketball,
Yeah.
and I believe you're right. Listen, when you talk about the IQ, being smart, I don't disagree with you with any of that
Okay,
stuff.
what about
But the physicality of the game, I don't think the women would be able to compete.
Yeah, what about the 6'8" lady from Baylor that was in Russia and now plays for Phoenix? What about her?
Griner?
Well,
Griner. Yeah, what
first
about
of
her?
all, Brittany Griner looked, and again, I say this with an understanding and an empathy for what she had to go through. She looked terrible this year. She's slow. She's not in good shape. She certainly can't shoot the basketball. The thing she's got going for her is her size. She can barely even dunk, Mo. You could dunk now with your bad knees.
No, I couldn't. No.
Mo,
And
she
yeah.
can't even dunk.
Yeah. Well, dunking, there's only about 5 dunks.
You
in
got
a,
high school
there's
kids.
There's only about 5 dunks in a game. It doesn't even matter.
But I'm not talking about the dunking per se.
You just did.
I know,
It
but
doesn't
there's a reason
matter.
why I bring that up. It's about athleticism, how far these high school kids can jump and how fast they are. These guys are leaping and jumping from everywhere. Brittany Griner couldn't keep up with them. She'd get destroyed.
Yeah, I don't agree. I just don't. I mean,
I'm surprised.
Yeah, no. There's the high school. No, probably most Division IIs. Yeah. And all Division Ones.
All
but
right,
not high school.
so I'm going to give you a funny story, and it's interesting. I didn't know you had this opinion, and you might be right. I don't know. You know a little bit more about basketball than I do, but I'll tell you
Little
this.
bit.
A little bit.
Little
Not
bit.
a lot. Not a
no,
lot.
No.
Not a
Yeah,
lot, right?
Yeah,
A little
no. I mean, 20 years of coaching and 12 of playing. And, yeah, no.
But you bet with the best, so it's okay.
Mo's got a little more experience than I have. But Mo, this is a funny story. So Marvin Menzies wasn't the nicest guy. I didn't have the best relationship with him. But I remember he was really struggling. I might be wrong, but I think it was like year 3, and he was on the hot seat. So he invites all members of the media to his house for some oxtail.
Who is this now?
Marvin Menzies. He's now coaching. I don't remember where he's coaching now, but he used to coach New Mexico State, and he used to coach UNLV.
Okay.
So this is on the downfall where he probably knew he was on the hot seat, right?
Right.
I don't think he did a terrible job here. But anyway, that's here nor there. So we're over at his place, right? And I won't say who we got into this debate with, but I got into a debate with somebody who was kind of on your side, but stronger on the WNBA players, that they could even compete with college basketball players, which I think is absurd.
They could compete.
I don't
They
think
would.
so.
For the top teams, they would get smoked. The bottom teams, they would get beat.
I think UNLV would kill them, but that's just my personal opinion. But anyway,
yeah.
So we got into a
I don't know how good they
So
are.
I got into a discussion with this guy. I won't say who. And then Marvin Menzies right there. I said, Marv, can you help us out with something? What do you think would happen if Bishop Gorman played the Aces? This is several years back. And he laughed. And he smiled and he laughed and he goes, Bishop Gorman would kill him. So I guess everybody has a different opinion.
Yeah,
but that's what Marvin Menzies told me.
I would take that bet any day.
4 10-minute quarters. I think Bishop Gorman would be minus 22.5.
So what rules are we playing?
High school boys rules.
High school is 8-minute quarters.
We could do 8-minute or 10-minute. I don't think that
8-minute quarters and their 3-point line.
Yeah.
Aces.
Men's basketball.
Yeah. Still Aces.
All those rules. No, I think the Aces would get destroyed. I don't think it would be close.
No.
I really don't.
It would be really close.
I don't think so.
I disagree. And I don't even know how good Gorman is, but I mean.
And the reason why I say that, Mo, is from the physical aspect. I'm solely saying from a physical aspect, they wouldn't be able to compete physically. Now, physical could also mean you're faster, you're stronger. I just don't think the Aces would be able to compete.
What's her name? The point guard? What's her name?
Which one? On who?
For the Aces.
Are you talking about Chelsea Gray?
Yeah.
She's hurt now, but yeah.
Yeah,
Chelsea
she's
Gray.
physical. She could handle a high school player easy. Easy. She's big. She's strong.
She's not as fast as your typical 18-year-old varsity boys basketball player.
That's like Magic Johnson isn't as fast as Isaiah Thomas, but he competes with them because he knows how to play.
And you're also talking about arguably the best one in the WNBA at her position. Keep in mind,
which the Aces have.
Yeah,
we're talking about the Aces.
Yeah, we are talking about the Aces. Yeah. And I look at who's their 4 on the Aces that got hurt.
Kia Stokes?
Yeah, Stokes would get destroyed.
She's really the 5 because they had Asia.
Yeah. She would get destroyed by an 18-year-old. First of all, she can't score. She has no offensive capabilities.
The other player at Gorman is 6'4", 160 pounds. That's their power forward.
You think she'd be able to defend somebody like that 15 feet from the basket?
Yeah, he weighs 160 pounds.
Oh, come on. Come on, Mo.
Yes, not even close. No.
Man, all right. Well, we need to make
someone
this
that played Division I women's basketball and is now a championship pro player in the WNBA women's, has way more experience, knows how to play the game.
Let's start with where we agree on, okay? I think we'll agree on this. Let's start at the top. Will you agree with me that there's not one WNBA player ever, including now, that could ever make an NBA roster and contribute?
Probably.
You agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we agree
at
that...
this point.
Yeah, so we agree on that.
But that gap is closing, for sure. It's not like it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. It wasn't even close.
I don't think there's any female on the planet that could play in the NBA. I will start. I'm just going to say there's no way.
At this point.
I don't believe. Do you believe there's any female WNBA player right now that could be a starter on a men's college Division I basketball team? A starter. Look, there are some bad players.
Wait. You're talking about there's 350 Division I teams.
Yeah.
There's some bad Division I. Yes, I do.
You do?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some bad Division I teams. Horrible Division I teams.
Okay, so besides
talk about top 100.
Let's go top 200.
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
Yeah.
So we right there have established, for the most part, a woman could never be in the NBA, even though you might think it's getting a little closer. And for the most part, unless it's a really stinky team, a woman couldn't contribute on a college basketball team. So it's crazy to think that one of the best high school teams out there.
Yes. I don't know. Bishop, I don't know how many Division I players they have. I have no idea. I mean, they could have one. They could have three.
Can we make this simple? Can we do, what is it, the Ronald McDonald All-Star team?
I would love to do this. I would love to have this game.
That would be the game where it would be close.
I think
other than that, if it was the Aces, Gorman,
neutral floor,
Aces win.
Neutral floor, not even a crowd, because everybody would be rooting for the Aces. Neutral floor, televise it, have Bishop Gorman ready to go, in game shape, have the Aces ready to go. I think it would get monster ratings, donate it to charity, and I'm telling you right now that Bishop Gorman would win this basketball game.
I would take that bet in a second.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we'll ask what Chris Wynn thinks. Just bet the opposite.
Now, how about this one?
Yeah.
The lowest D1 team versus the WNBA champions.
Men college?
Men college.
Men's rules? I'd have to take a look at the team. I'd have to take a look at the size, because to me, a lot of what I am saying here has a lot to do with the physicalness of that's why the physicalness.
Just so you know, the bottom of the Division I is worse than the top of Division II. I'll tell you that.
I believe that. Sure.
I've seen it. I've coached at Stony Brook.
Absolutely.
I've coached at USC.
I watched Southern Utah before Todd Simon took over that program, and they were horrific. They were terrible. Maybe you can make the case that Southern Utah team might have lost to the Las Vegas Aces with men's rules. I could see that maybe happening. But again, I go back to my opinions are, you have a different opinion than me on this, but I think just the physical aspect of the game, Asia Wilson would mightily struggle. The Aces as a whole would mightily struggle with the physicality of some of these 18-year-old athletes that are bigger, stronger, and faster.
So, and this is kind of a stretch a little bit, but is Kevin Durant strong?
He's pretty quick. I don't know about, strength.
I'm talking about strong. Is AD strong?
I mean, I'm not going to call him weak. He still is able to get to his spots.
He's not strong.
He still is able to get to his spots.
You could push him off his spot.
He's still able to get to his spots.
But my point is, he's not strong. He's one of the best players in the NBA. AD is not strong. He's one of the best players in the NBA. There's so many like skinny players in the NBA that are smart enough, skilled enough, and talented enough to be great players.
But I don't believe Asia Wilson. When you're a 4 or 5, I think it has a lot to do with you have to be strong. You have to be able to rebound and push people around. You know that better than anybody.
AD and KD don't push people around.
But if Asia Wilson is in the post, look at the defenders that she has had. When you're talking about an 18-year-old that's going to be 4 inches taller than you,
that's going to
way more than you.
That's going to go for every fake I throw at him. That's going to go for every trick I know. That's going to get in foul trouble because he can't guard me because I'm throwing fakes at him.
I've officiated Bishop Gorman varsity games. I just disagree with you. I think that Bishop Gorman is at another level as far as their intensity, how physical they are, their athleticism. A lot of these guys play NCAA basketball the following year. Asia Wilson, and I want to preface this by saying this because I know there's going to be some haters out there. I really enjoy going to Aces games. It's a great environment. They're wonderful people. Asia Wilson is not only a great person, she's a great player. And Becky Hammond's a great coach. They're good people on this team, and the games are fun to watch. This isn't me dogging women's basketball, okay? But I get annoyed when people try to compare the two, and I just think it's absurd.
So let me, back in the day or whatever, you play pickup ball, right? And you go in the gym, and you see this guy, he's jumping and dunking, and he's athletic as hell. And then you see this old guy over there that is slow as hell. He's not even moving. He's doing jumping jacks. And when you pick the athletic guy over the old guy schools the athletic guy, ball face, gets him up in the air, uses his body, goes into him, gets him. That's the same kind of thing.
Well, but here's the key that you're not okay. There's a guy and a guy. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be chauvinistic here, but you didn't say there's a girl over there that's stretching. You said it was another guy. Now, I understand what you're saying, skill and what's up here.
I'm talking about a 20-year-old against a 40-year-old guy.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
So I'm talking about a high school player, Gorman, and then Asia Wilson, right? I'm picking Asia Wilson. That's my opinion. And that's the absolute truth. 100% you can't
I'm picking
deny.
the best basketball player.
That's what's his name said.
Yeah. I'm picking the best basketball player at that time. And as much as Asia Wilson has the experience, as much as Asia Wilson has the basketball IQ, which she does, and by the way, we're talking about probably the best female basketball player in the world. Probably. She's one of the best.
Talking about Leslie and
well,
some
right
other
now,
ones down
right now, she's probably the best basketball player in the world. I'm not saying she's the best player to ever play the game.
GOAT yet,
No, I didn't say that, but I'm saying right now, who's the best basketball player in the world? I would say Asia
But here's
Wilson.
the other thing, Brian, that there's a big hole. You don't know who Gorman had. You have no idea what.
So I don't know what their roster is, but what I do know in years past when I've officiated their games, they got a hell of a lot of good, athletic, quick players, players that are big, they're physical, that are vying to be Division I college basketball players, and many of them have been. And I'll take a program like that and a bunch of 18-year-olds that are huge for their age and extremely athletic and physical. Some of them are.
Look at their roster.
The Aces aren't huge.
Yeah, but I looked at the roster. I mean, 6'4", 180.
That's tall enough.
Yeah,
I think that's tall enough.
That's not huge.
I think that's tall enough.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about somebody like.
Let's get the game, and we can promote it, and we can
I would
make
love
a lot
to.
of money.
I would love to do that. I won't officiate it because I would fix it. So we'll get somebody else doing it. I would love to do that. I probably don't think it's going to happen because it's a risk.
No.
It's a risk for the WNBA. If the high school basketball team did beat the Aces, it would be horrible for the WNBA, and it would prove a lot of people's point, like Clay Travis. The Aces, sure, they'd have a lot to gain from it, but I think they would have more to lose.
Absolutely.
That's why it would never happen.
That's why when in college sports, when you book money games, that's USC booking Utah Southern Miss, and paying them $200,000 to come in and play.
Yep.
You don't want to book a team that could beat you because
Right.
you look bad. That's the same thing. So. Yeah.
So listen, the game's never going to happen. It's an interesting discussion.
It could.
By the way, again,
with you behind it.
Let me preface this again by saying, I hate Clay Travis. I think he's a despicable human being. His comments about COVID and about Black Lives Matter and about just like most other right wingers, I hate Clay. It pains me to agree with him, but I do agree with him on this issue.
And we know why he said it, right? He said it, because probably he's a chauvinist, and
Right.
probably. And for sure, he wanted hits, clicks, whatever.
And let me preface it by saying this. I'm only giving you my opinions because they're my opinions. I'm not trying to do clickbait or anything. I just do think that a lot of high school boys basketball teams would beat most WNBA teams because of the physicality of the game. But I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it happen. And I would happily be the first one to say I was wrong if the game ever happened. Sadly, I don't think we're ever going to get to that point. But let's talk a little NBA basketball, if I may. If you're just joining us, Paul McKeskey, what's up?
By the way, Coach Menzies is now the University of Missouri, Kansas City.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, UMKC?
Yeah.
That's shoot. Years ago, I tried for that job. That's a good little job in Kansas City right there.
I'd love to lie and say I wish him nothing but the best, but that would not be genuine, so I'm just not going to say anything. But I do wish Kevin Kruger the best, and we'll see what happens with UNLV. UNLV football, 6-1.
Yeah.
Bowl eligible. This is exciting. Let's talk a little NBA basketball.
You saw their team, right?
Yeah.
Play?
Yeah.
Are
they have
they legit?
Sometimes things happen in life. The answer is yes. Sometimes things happen in life, and all due respect to Doug Brumfeld, because I think he would have won a lot of games with this team as well. But they have a Liberty freshman quarterback who has come in here when Brumfeld got hurt, and he has been phenomenal. That's number one. Guy we had on the show, Jesus, star receiver, is playing like he wants to play on Sundays. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but the guy's had some monster games. Their defense is the best defense they have had in decades. They're a physical football team. They haven't been a physical football team since I've been here in 20 years.
Yeah, and you saw him play Colorado State, right?
Yes.
Which is a physical football team.
They matched their intensity. And Colorado State is, you could make the argument that they're the most physical team in the Mountain West. Fresno's pretty physical too, but and Boise State's a good team. UNLV has not only made it to a bowl game, but you could make the argument 7 games into the season that they are the best team in the Mountain West Conference. They are for real. Odom is a really good coach. I said that the first time I interviewed him. But all these buffoons in town that wanted Coach Arroyo to come back, let's give him some more time. You're all morons because guess what? Odom did it in 1 year. You idiots. He did it in 1 year. Oh, let's give him more time. Let's give Dave Rice 10 years. Let's give T.J. Otzelberger more time. Let's give Sanchez more time. Let's give Arroyo another couple of years, even though he hasn't made it. Odom did it in 1 year, you fools. We should be throwing eggs at their face when they're on the air, these idiots.
Here's one thing that I really noticed, too, that you can tell a person is a good coach and a respected coach. After the game, when they had their press conference, every player I heard commented how much they enjoy and how good the coach is. That says something.
And they're excited. We had the UNLV athletic director on a few days ago. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's doing a great job, Eric Harper. And I told him this, and he kind of chuckled, and he liked to hear it, but it's true. I had Jesus on. I've had a few players on, and they've all told me, we don't just want a bowl game. That's great. We want to win the conference championship.
That's more important. Yeah.
Mo, I haven't heard players talk like that ever at UNLV because they believe. They're confident. They believe in their teammates. They believe in their coaching staff.
And their coach has broken it down, right? We're not winning a conference championship today. We need to win the next game.
Right.
Be 1-0.
Yes.
And the most important thing, in my opinion, is their uniforms are super cool.
They are pretty cool,
all
aren't
red,
they?
all black. Come on, man. Those are
By the
awesome.
way, Mo, the opposite of the Las Vegas Raiders, McDaniels might be one of the worst head coaches I've ever seen. He is totally
You've been
clueless.
on him since I've been here.
Oh my
and
God, I've been right. Can you say I've been wrong? They just lost to the Bears on the road with a backup quarterback.
And the decision he made the other day by kicking a field goal and all.
You're down 21-3.
I mean, I'm on your side. I mean, oh boy.
It's completely clueless, and I know you're not the kind of guy, you don't like to criticize coaches. I'll leave that to me. But
I agree. I mean, that when he kicked that field goal when you're down by whatever, and
Yeah.
it's, I'm like, Linda, my wife, gives me crap because I think I can coach anything. Hockey, football, yeah, no problem.
I'd like to see you on
baseball,
skates.
I could do the signs, but I even know that's a stupid play.
Right. Well, here's the thing. It's a broken record with him at the press conference after every game. I'll give you an example, right? Cassidy, the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. Obviously, he's a great coach. He's a proven great head coach.
Too. He'll say it like it is.
He tells it like it is, and he also goes in depth, right, with why he feels a certain way. I mean, the other day, he's benching a player in the game against the Philadelphia Flyers. He benched him. He didn't play him a lot of minutes. Didn't like the way he was playing. What do you think happened, Mo, in the third period when he put him in there?
He played harder.
Scored the go-ahead goal, or the tying goal that got them back in the game. Cassidy knows how to push buttons. He holds players accountable. He's very, very specific with the media of what he's looking for and what they didn't do well, what they did well. He's an extremely intelligent coach. And that's why he's not only had success here. It's not like, oh, look at that. He won a Stanley Cup. He finally did. Look at the success he had in Boston. This was a great hire, and the guy is a phenomenal head coach. I say the same thing just in the aspect of what Odom has been able to do. Very difficult to turn a program around that was bad for so many years, and now they've earned respect. This is a good football team. Josh McDaniels is the opposite of that. He failed in Denver, did a terrible job in Denver. He's going to get fired here. I tell you that, guaranteed 100%. They'll probably wait till the end of the year. The problem is Mark Davis is still paying John Gruden's contract. So Mark Davis makes bad football decisions.
Let me ask you that. Do you think Gruden was a good coach?
No, and here's why. I think he was okay,
Yeah.
but here's why. His record. The guy was a .500 coach. He won half his games. In the history of sports, Mo, in the history of sports, yes, I'm doing hand signals like Chris Wynn. I'm getting fired up.
Bro, listen to me.
In the history of sports, can you find me a coach that won half his games and got a $100 million contract? Name me one. Mark Davis gave John Gruden a 10-year, $100 million contract when the guy is winning one of every two games. I don't care whether he won a Super Bowl, and I don't care if he's a name or popularity. The guy was never defined by anybody who knows football as a great head football coach. He was okay. I'll take him in a heartbeat over Josh McDaniels. But come on, give me a break. A $100 million contract for a guy that wins half his games. That's a joke.
That's they ran into the thing like the Knicks did, where they're paying 4 coaches at the same time.
Speaking of the Knicks, let's talk about that. What a great segue. Mo is a pro. Do you see that? The Knicks and the Celtics yesterday. I got to tell you, man, Porzingis balled out yesterday, the former Knick. I know that getting rid of Marcus Smart is a blow, but I tell you, Drew Holiday does everything.
Yeah.
And the thing I really I've watched Drew Holiday play with the Bucks for years, right? But now as a Celtic fan, I'm going to watch a lot more about Drew Holiday. He doesn't really force shots.
No.
I don't, you know what, he's like, it's almost like, and I hate to compare him to like a Mo Cheeks, right? Or a Dennis Rodman in this aspect. Dennis Rodman rarely shot the ball. And listen, obviously.
He hardly ever shot the ball.
And Drew Holiday's a good offensive player. But in this aspect, I will. When he did shoot the ball, he usually made it. He took good shots. And I watched Drew Holiday, who's more skilled offensively. And I just feel like he fits in so well with this Celtics team. So well offensively. He does all the intangibles. He got Porzingis a bunch of open looks. The defense has to come out to him. I just think it's such a win for the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, what a pisses me off really bad. 'Cause, and so listen, Brad Stevens, okay coach, I think, in the pros. Okay.
Good general manager. Better general manager.
Great
Yeah.
He let go of their point guard, who is a solid point guard, got a legitimate 7'2" big that can shoot threes, block shots. He had 4 block shots.
Porzingis was a beast
and
yesterday, yeah.
he upgraded his point guard situation by getting Holiday over Smart. I mean, that is brilliant.
I'm
I
going
don't
to tell
know
you,
how
Mo,
he did that.
I know you might think I'm a little biased.
No, you are, but that's okay.
I know there are some
We
good
are.
teams in the East. I believe the Boston Celtics are the best team in the Eastern Conference.
I would not have agreed with you a week ago or 2 weeks ago because Bucks are my team. But with that addition of Porzingis and Holiday, I'm still taking the Bucks, but that's my heart. That's my heart talking.
Wait, you also have a guy named Mr. Tatum, and you still have Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, so you had your see in the NBA, you need to make big moves like the Bucks did now. They let go Holiday, but they got Lillard.
Yeah.
And you can't break up the rest of your team to get a star like Miami would have had to do to get Lillard. So that's the key, and that's general managers doing their job.
And the Celtics are in a great position to compete for another championship. They're right there in the conversation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I look at the Lakers game the other night, opening night, and I got to tell you something, man. Anthony Davis shot the ball terribly. He didn't look very good.
He had 17 in the first half and 0 in the second.
Right. He just fell apart in the second half.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know why they're not playing LeBron James. Listen, the guys at the last
That was weird, right?
Yeah, last couple of years, several years of his career. Now's the time.
26 minutes?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. I don't know why. I don't know why they're doing that either. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I got to backtrack too because I've told on this show and other shows, no way Denver repeats. No way. They can't get out of the West. I got to backtrack because watching them play and some of the new guys that are stepping up, and the Joker's the Joker and Murray's Murray. They're right in it, but I'm telling you.
Have the Nuggets gotten better, though, since last year? I mean, we know how good they are, but should they be the favorite to win it all?
No. I think the Bucks are.
So biased.
Celtics probably.
You'd think this guy played for the Bucks. Oh, wait a second.
but those two, for sure. And then out of the West, I mean, pick a team, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking Warriors, which they're not big enough.
I know you're tight with Steve Kerr. I just don't think I don't think they're good enough to compete.
They're talented enough. They're not.
I think
big
Phoenix
enough.
is.
Phoenix is the team.
Yeah.
Lakers are a letdown. Clippers, depending on Kawhi. Sacramento, watch for them. And then I watched OKC play the other day with that young team. Woo, boy.
So let me ask you a question then. We have the mid-season. It's not really mid-season. It's like a month and a half away.
Yeah,
I don't know why
timing.
I don't know why they call it the mid-season tournament. I'm like, that's not mid-season. Mid-season would be a couple months later.
Well, that's where the All-Star game is in February.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right, so let me ask you this. Only a month and a half in. Who do you think the 4 teams are going to be if you had to bet on it that are going to be in Vegas in December?
I hope Boston, Milwaukee. But I don't know what the groups are. I need to look at the groups.
So if Milwaukee makes it there, like who's the first person you call to try to get free tickets? Who do you call within that organization? You're Paul McKeskey. You should be able to get free tickets anytime you want.
That's not true.
Really?
Shoot, I tried to get out. Remember in the pandemic when they're playing in Orlando?
Yeah.
And then you could be a face on the
Right.
wall? I tried to do that. I couldn't even get that.
You really tried that?
I tried that. Depending on the groups, Phoenix and Denver. I mean, if you go, I need to look at the groups, but those are the 4 best teams right now. I think. After 2 days of.
I should let Numchuck read this because these are stats that I don't understand. So, Numchuck, what do you got for me there? You got some NBA stats.
I have D-Rod's field goals attempted and made.
What are they?
He is 27-66 for 53-10. He did 52.1%. Big Mo over here went 1,099 for 24-37. Good job, Big Mo.
What's the percentage on that?
What is that? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Help me out here.
You're talking about shots?
Shots.
Oh, in their career?
Yeah.
Oh.
What percentage is that?
45.1.
You were 45%. That's pretty good.
Throughout your career.
Yeah, and you know what happened? I was over 50 till I started shooting more threes at the end of my career. And more jumpers, but.
What was your 3-point field goal percentage? You remember?
Probably 40.
That's unbelievable for your position.
I shot 76% free throws.
Biggest three.
And in playoffs.
Biggest three you ever made in your career?
End of the third quarter, Game 5 in Atlanta. We had to win against the last game. It was a 5-game series. And Terry Cummings was out. This guy's out. And they run a play. It's called 15 pop, and that was for me. So I sent a half
15
screen.
pop.
I set a high pick and roll, but I don't really set it. I slip it and pop way over there. And Jay Humphreys passes it to me, and I knock down a 3 to put us up 4 at the end of the third quarter. And you'll see on the bench, Mike Dunleavy, senior, is an assistant coach. And he's the one that called it in the huddle. And you can see him on the bench, and his hand is raised. And as soon as I make it, he goes like that. and if you look, you can see it on YouTube. It's probably 2 feet behind the 3. That's
you
the biggest.
Just drained it.
That's the biggest 3 I've hit.
So wait, what did you think your 3-point percentage was career?
He said 40, right?
Probably around 40.
21.6.
Oh, Mo.
Hey,
Why would you lie like that?
How many did I shoot?
You were 11 for 51.
Mo, you were
career.
off. You were off by 20 percentage points. You could be a politician.
In 12 years, I shot
51 shots. 51 threes.
That's not.
And most of those were at the end of my career.
I take Mo open top of the key over Manute Ball any day of the week.
You were 70% at the free throw line.
That's really good.
Playoffs was over 80, I think.
How many free throws would you say you took a day? It's so repetitive, but do you work on it every day or not really? Or
it depends on the travel and stuff like that. I mean, we used to do, you got to make 100 before you leave the gym. So,
you got to make 100 before you leave the gym. So basically, what you're telling me is Ben Simmons never leaves the gym. That's basically
if he did that. I'll tell you what.
Can you explain that to me? Ben Simmons is a guy. He's making these 15-foot fadeaways. He's a great athlete, but the guy can't make free throws.
It's mental. And
I don't get
repetition, mental, and work. I played my rookie year. I played on the Houston Rockets, that had, I think, at that point, the best free throw shooting team ever in the NBA. I think they're knocked down to 2 or 3 now. Rudy Tomjanovich, Calvin Murphy, Mike Dunleavy, Rick Barry, and a guy named Mike Newland. Mm-hmm. And they all shot over 90%. Yeah. And Mike Newland, I know I rebounded for him, and he would not leave practice till he made 100 in a row.
Wow. I watched.
So if he missed 94, you start 1.
I went to a Golden State Warriors practice when they played a preseason game here a few years ago against the Lakers, and there's nobody in the gym, right? A couple members of the media. This was towards the end of practice, so they let the media in there, and I'm watching Steph Curry shoot free throws, and he would get visibly angry if the ball even touched the rim.
Oh, yeah. You play no rim. Yeah,
he got physically upset.
There's a free throw game you play. You play to 10. You get a point if you get a swish. It's minus a point if you miss, and it's nothing if you hit the rim.
Wow.
So that's a game.
That's fun. That sounds like a lot of fun.
But free throw shooting to me is repetition, and it's mental, and you just focus on it's like a golf swing, right? Pro golfers, they have their setup every time, right? Their routine. Mm-hmm. It's the same on free throws. My routine was simple. It drives me crazy when guys put the ball behind their back or spin it.
Giannis.
Yeah, spin it and do stuff like that. That's all distraction. So mine was 3 dribbles, 1, 2, 3, up, 1, 2, 3. That's all it was. And that was the same in the first quarter. It was the same when I made 2 free throws to put a Boston game, playoff game in the with 4 seconds left. And I put it in overtime.
Is that a playoff game?
It was a playoff game. It's the same when I won a Boston.
So let me ask you about that.
When I won a Celtic game in Boston.
Wow.
With no time on the clock in the Boston Garden with people throwing shit, and I made 2 free throws to win the game.
So when you got a road game and it's a hostile environment like the old Boston Garden and all the pressure is on you, you're a human being, and I understand you're focusing. Just focus on getting it done, making the shot, repetitive. I get all that, but it's a different circumstance. Your heart's got to be beating faster.
Yeah, but you that's when you rely on your routine,
right?
And that's all you worry about. I don't worry about make or miss. Just do your routine. And because you've done it thousands of times, and that's when you have to at the end of a game. Like, it cracks me up when fans scream or fans do wave behind a backboard. If you're a player and you notice someone waving something in the background or hear someone, you're not a pro, because we don't hear any of that stuff. It's all blocked out if you're a real pro.
Right. That's interesting. What is that feeling like when you're in Boston Garden, no time on the clock, you make a couple shots, your team wins the game, What does that feel like for you walking off the floor?
The best was after I made my first one. There's no time on the clock now. There's no one else on the floor, just me. I made my first one, and I'm getting ready to take my second one, and I see out of the corner of my eye, Parrish, McHale, and Bird start walking to the locker room because they know I'm going to make it. That's the feeling.
Did they really do that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was getting ready to make my second one.
That's respect.
And they were just walking off the court. You know?
That's respect. There's no better feeling than that.
No,
right? That's
that
the ultimate respect.
That was probably my 6th or 7th year in the league where I had established myself finally after bouncing around, and I was finally with the Bucks. And then at that point, I'm like, okay, like you said, I'm a respected NBA player now.
That's got to be the best.
No matter what idiots out there think, well, he was just a player and he couldn't play. Bullshit. I could play.
Well, you definitely earned it. You had a nice long career, coaching, and I just don't like your opinions on high school basketball versus WNBA. That's all. But we'll have to reevaluate.
And the Celtics Bucks.
I'll convince you.
But I will give it to you right now. I'm picking picking Milwaukee over Boston.
Oh, not me.
With my heart,
not
head.
me. Yeah. I'll make a wager. Can I make a wager with you right now? $100 of slot play at Arizona Charlie's that the Celtics are going to win the East, and Milwaukee will not be winning the East.
Sure. We'll do
All
that.
right, $100 of slot play.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that you have to take it out of your pocket. It means you could just ask somebody to give me the slot play.
And vice versa.
Right, and vice versa. Exactly. So there's no risk. Yeah, exactly.
That's a great bet. Let's make it 200.
No risk bet. All right. Well, look forward to talking a little more hoops with you next week.
College basketball.
Yeah, college basketball right around the corner. We got to go to some UNLV games.
And they already have tournaments coming to Vegas.
Right. We got to go.
Crazy.
I got to look into that too. But yes, we definitely have to. We're gonna have to kind of run down college basketball, and it's always difficult to do when you don't know all the faces on these teams. But
with the transfer portal.
Yeah, with all the transfers.
Yeah, I'm telling you, my KU Jayhawks, they picked up the 7-footer from Michigan. They're
going to be good. Kansas is always going to be good. Always.
Yeah.
Tomorrow on the show, Mo, I hope you listen and watch, because the former Nevada Republican chair, Amy Tarkanian, is going to be joining me in studio. And she has a lot to say about Republicans today, so it should be interesting.
Can we talk about gun control again?
Oh,
that
please,
was a great
no.
conversation.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Yeah, cell phones for 16-year-olds, no, bad. AR-15s for 18-year-olds, that's totally fine.
Hey, come out of prison, get a gun. It should be like a program.
That's some pretty wild views there, but hey, some people agree, some people disagree. Thanks for joining us, Mo. Appreciate that. And we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino.